What's up, guys? Justin here with the onlinebusinessessentials.com. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how to create YouTube channel art using Canva. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. All right, so Canva has been a lifesaver to me because honestly, even though I'm active online, I teach people how to use 3D modeling softwares and other things like that. I'm not a graphic designer. It's just not necessarily one of my strengths, and I don't necessarily want to have to go out and hire somebody every time I need to create something that looks somewhat professional. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Canva in order to create a channel art based on the templates that they have inside of Canva itself. All right, and so we're going to go into Canva. Note that I do have the pro version of Canva, but you can do this with the free version. We'll talk about some of the differences in a minute, but you want to log into Canva, and if you want to create an account, I'll link to that in the notes down below. But basically what I want to do is I want to go either in this bar, and I just want to look for YouTube banner. And so when you do that, notice how there's different YouTube banners that are in here. And if you're in any of these spaces, that's great. I just usually go with the regular YouTube banner right here. And so what that's going to do is that's going to create a new design that you can use in order to create your YouTube banner. And the nice thing about this is if you click in here and you look at the sizing, and I think I can see that just by clicking on the resize button, you can see how this is actually set up to align with the recommended sizes for a YouTube banner. Remember that YouTube's a little bit weird, right? In the sense that it displays on a lot of different devices. And so your channel header looks, or your channel banner looks different depending on which one of those you're going to use. So you want something that's going to be this overall size, this 2560 by 1440, but you really want to keep your text and your logo in this safe area. Most of the templates inside of Canva conform with this, so it's really easy to create channel art that actually works. So what we want to do is we want to jump back into Canva, and what I want to do is I want to go into the design section over here. If you click on the design section, notice what that's going to do is that's going to have different sets of channel art in here that you can use for your YouTube channel. Now, I will say some of these are kind of odd. They don't really conform with the YouTube safe areas. So like, for example, if I was to click on this one just to look at it, this doesn't really make any sense because it really needs to keep your text and everything in this central area right here, because this is going to all be cut off otherwise. So usually if you look at this, and your options in here are kind of smaller and to the middle, that's generally an indicator that that's going to make a little bit more sense. Some of these are just a little bit odd, and I'm not really sure what the intention is with these. But there's all of these different kinds of templates, right? So you can click on this and you can do like gaming templates, you can do esports, anything like that. You can also close out of that and come back to the top right here. So depending on what you're trying to do, there's a bunch of different options in here and different styles. And so one thing to be aware of when you look at these is some of these are premium templates. And what that means is those templates are only going to be available if you have the pro version of Canva. Now, I have the pro version of Canva for a lot of different reasons. One of the biggest is because I get access to their element library, which gives me the ability to access all of these different graphics that I can use for different things. So I do all of the graphics for like my courses and other things like that with Canva as well. So for me, it's totally been a worthwhile purchase because I just get access to this massive library of all sorts of different things. You can totally do this for free just by selecting one of these that doesn't have the pro elements. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on this one right here because this is the one that I ended up using for my channel. And so what I want to do is I just want to modify this a little bit. So first off, obviously I don't want a picture of someone else in here. I want a picture of me. So what I can do is usually I'll upload a photo before I delete this one out, just because this gives me kind of a general idea of where things need to be. So for example, I'm going to go into my uploads and I have different photos that I've taken of myself. So in this case, I'm just going to use this one right here. And we're going to go ahead and bring that down and kind of resize it so that it matches. Notice how if I drag it over this frame, it's going to drop my image into the frame itself, and it's going to crop the image to fit inside of that frame. Now there are different frames in your elements. So if I look for a frame, for example, I click on this, notice how we've got all of these different frames that are different shapes. So say you wanted like a circular shape, right? Well, what you could do is you could add that circular shape, drag yourself into that, and it's going to crop your image to fit inside of that frame. And I'm going to go ahead and resize this, and we can use the circular image for this particular channel art. And I'm going to delete this other one out just by clicking on it and hitting the delete key. And so one thing to note about this is notice how when I brought this in, this is covering things up inside of Canva. And so the reason for that is because basically when you bring all of these elements in here, they're all kind of getting stacked together, right? They have to be in some sort of order because they're all occupying the same space. Well, at the moment when I brought this in, it brought it in on top of all of these other elements. I don't necessarily want that. I kind of want these elements to be on top of this image. So what I can do is I can right click on an image and I can either send it to the very back or I can send it backward. In this case, I'm going to click on very back, and what that's going to do is that's going to drop this image to the very bottom of the stack of images right here. And I might take this one and send it backward so that it's behind this image right here. So now we have an image of ourselves in our channel art. And I'm going to go ahead and delete out some of these over here because I don't really need them. But I am going to use the text as kind of a template. So in this case, I'm going to replace this with the Online Business Essentials. And I'm going to move the text over, and I'm just going to adjust the size of the text up a bit, just like this. And you may end up creating multiple different versions of this. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll get something that's close and then I'll duplicate this so I have another version. And then I can kind of play around trying to get things on the same line or anything like that so that I have multiple different iterations of this in case I want to go back to this one. So I might just build on top of this one if I like this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out this text. I'm going to move this up. And then down below, what I want to do is I want to add some notes about what the channel is about, right? Because on your YouTube banner, you really want people to be able to tell what you do on this channel. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take this piece of text and I'm going to duplicate it and move it down. And in this case, I just want to click in here and I want to add the word tech. Or actually, I'm going to add the word YouTube. I don't necessarily want to do tech. And so I'm just going to bring the size down on this, and you can type in a value, so maybe like 32 or something like that. You can also adjust the size of this block right here. So I've got my first piece of text in here, and what I want to do now is I want to add a little divider. And so remember that Canva has a collection of different elements and graphics and shapes and other things like that. Well, in this case, all I want is a line. And so within the lines and shapes, you can tell that there's already one of these in here. Well, I can just click on this and I can go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to adjust the size, this, and then I'm going to move it up. And we can zoom in a bit if we want to do that. And note that you can place this either by clicking on the little arrow, or you can also tap the arrow keys with this selected. So notice how I can tap left and right, up and down in order to kind of nudge this. You can also hold the shift key in order to make that snapping or that nudging distance a little bit longer. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into my line style. I'm going to make this line a little bit thicker. So maybe we'll make it like a 10. And so then all I need to do is just finish adding the descriptions in here. So I'll do that really quickly. And one thing I don't like about these, and so I'm going to go ahead and change it, is if I do a shift click, I can select them both and edit this. But I want to bring this down so that it's not as bold. And I might even see if there's, maybe this like Poppins medium instead. So something that isn't as bold as my channel title. So I'm going to go ahead and bring those down to a medium like this. Note that that does adjust the size of the text in here a little bit, but I think we're going to be okay. But now we're just going to duplicate this. And then we're just going to select all of these and click on the duplicate button, and we'll just copy this down here. Okay, and so I can already tell proportionally that this is going to be too wide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take all of these and I'm just going to drag a box across them like this, but I'm going to go ahead and move them down. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this bigger, but on two different lines like this. Okay, so now I think we're ready to take this and export it. And so what we want to do is we're going to click on the share button and notice how there's an option in here for download. So I'm going to click on the download button. Remember that there's a number of different types in here, but I think PNG is going to work fine for what we want to do on our YouTube channel. We don't need a transparent background. We don't need to compress the file. One thing we do want to do though is we want to make sure within our download that we've only selected page 2. We don't really need to download page 1 because we've been working with our second page. I'm going to go ahead and click on done, then I'm going to click on download. That's going to download this to my computer. And so if I open that image up, it's going to look something like this. Well, now let's jump over into YouTube and upload this and see how it looks. And so on YouTube, in order to customize your channel art, you can just click on the option to view your channel. So you can click on the button to view your channel and you can just click on the little camera right here. And what that's going to do is that's going to pop up a page where you can upload a channel art image. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a change and I'm going to upload the one we just created. So I'm going to jump into my downloads and we'll go ahead and upload this file. And notice how it's showing me that everything in here is just a little too big, right? So on desktop, it's going to look fine, but this is going to get cut off on some other images. Well, all I have to do to fix that is we're just going to jump back into Canva and I'm just going to duplicate this. I usually duplicate rather than changing my existing stuff, but I'm just going to take all of this and I'm just going to scale it in a little bit. So we'll scale it right here and actually notice how this tells you what your width and your height is. Well, remember that your text and logo safe area is 1546 by 423. And so we'll scale this down to 423 and then we'll just click and drag it so that it's centered in our page. If it's centered in our page, we know it's going to fit. And so now we can just take this and re-download it. So we're going to go to share, download. In this case, we want to download page 3. And we'll just change this. And we'll pick up the one we just downloaded. And now if we look at this, this all ought to fit just fine on our channel page. So you've got a background that's going to be viewable on TV. You've got a desktop viewable area, and you've got an all devices viewable area. So everything fits, so this is going to look fine. So we can go ahead and click on done. And when we click on done, we can click on the button for publish, and that's going to change the channel art on your channel. So if I click on publish, then I can click on my channel right here in order to preview what that's going to look like. So you can see how this fits just about perfectly on a desktop. Okay, so one thing that's really important, make sure that your channel art is actually descriptive about what happens on this page. If you're unclear or people don't understand what's going on your channel, you're really going to fight to get subscribers. So make sure that you use your channel art as something that actually indicates what you do on your channel. That's where I'm in this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. If you're using Canva, I just love having that conversation with you guys. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.